Hi guys, the Metal Maniac back again, and in this video I'm going to be listing off top 5, or just I guess 5 annoying things bands do that just need to stop. Yeah, these are like things that, bands do that are extremely annoying or just downright stupid, just stuff that they need to just stop doing. Alright, first off, number 5. Hiring shitty replacement singers. Yeah, this happens a lot. Like, say a band's longtime singer leaves, but a lot of the times the people that they hire, aren't just, not as good, but a lot of times are just absolute shit to the point where they just can't sing. Like, one of the biggest examples is when Bruce Dickinson left Iron Maiden for a while, back in the early 90s, and who did they get to replace Bruce Dickinson? Blaze Bayley, who can't sing for shit. He can't sing at all. So I don't know what the hell is going through Steve Harris's mind when hiring this absolute, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, this absolute non-talented person. Like, and it's not just with Iron Maiden. There's a lot of other bands out there, and at one time or another, they hire people who can't sing for shit. I mean, look at what happened with another band. Which one was it? Oh yeah, Anthrax. Now I know people like Joey Bonadon's vocals, but I think he's just not a good singer at all. They went from having Neil Turbin, one of the best voices in all of thrash metal, to Joey Bonadon, who is decent at his very best. But in my opinion, he's just not a good singer at all. But yeah, there's just so many times where bands, it almost seems like they don't want to get the best singer for a replacement. They just want to get anyone, as quick as possible. Which, no matter if they can actually sing or not. Which is a huge problem, and bands just need to stop. If a band wants to get a replacement singer, make sure they actually can sing. But yeah, that's at number 5. Number 4. Recording live albums at the end of a world tour when the band is clearly not at their best, extremely exhausted, and just, tired as hell. Iron Maiden is so guilty of this. 3 live albums I've come across that are like this: Live After Death, Live at Donington, and their newest live album. All 3, for some reason, are recorded at the very end of a world tour when everyone is clearly exhausted and far from at their best. And other bands are like this as well. I don't know, like, this is one that I could see maybe the people in marketing might have a hand in doing this shit. But why is it that some idiots, whoever it may be, decide, let's not record, a live album at the beginning of a tour, or maybe even, in the middle of a tour, a world tour. Oh, let's record the live album at the very end when everyone's clearly exhausted and not doing too well. Why is this a thing? Like I said, it happened with Iron Maiden multiple times for a couple of their live albums. It's happened with many other bands as well. What is going on in these people's minds that think it's okay to record a live album in a very, very stupid time, at the very end of a world tour? What is going on in these people's minds that they think that is okay? But yeah, bands have to start going back to recording a live album during, the very beginning of a world tour, or maybe somewhere in the middle. Not at the very end, where everyone's not at their best, and everyone's exhausted, and then because of that, the live albums, they sound like shit. But yeah, that's a number 4. Number 3. Oh yeah, number 3. bands releasing live EPs instead of releasing full-length live albums, even though they have the time and resources to make full-length live albums. Again, I'll go back to Iron Maiden with this because they're another good example of something like this. Iron Maiden's first two live, things were EPs, live EPs, both in the Paul Di'Anno era. But they had the time and resources and audio to make full-length live albums. They had the audio there. They could have just released the entire set list of Maiden Plus One and Made in Japan. But instead of using that full audio, they decided to cut it down. And instead of giving us the full live show, they gave us 4 or 5 songs, depending on what version you get for the Paul Di'Anno era. Why? Why is that a thing? Again, hold on, I have dust on my screen. Anyway, and again, I'm using Iron Maiden as an example because they're so guilty of this. They don't do it anymore, but there's still lots of bands that have the audio of the full live show, but then instead of using that and making a full live album, they decide to cut it down and to make a live EP that are like 3 or 4 live songs, and that's it. And then they never release the full audio. Why is this a thing? It shouldn't be a thing. It's cheating people of the live album experience. It's cheating the customer. Like, if I want, a live audio of a live show, I want the full fucking live show. I don't want an EP that's only, like, less than a quarter of it. Because of that, I had to get, a bootleg of Made in Japan that has the full audio on it. The entire the entire set list of that show. Because the official version is not that. The official version, like I said, is less than a quarter of the live show. So, bands have to stop doing that shit and have to stop, cheating people out of the experience of a live album by, keeping the full audio, chopping it up, and then only, again, releasing like a less than a quarter of the full set list. Yeah, that's another annoying thing that just has to stop. Alright, number 2. Hold on. Alright. Number 2. No, sorry, wait. Hold on, let me see my list right for a second. Oh yeah, number 2. I was at number 2. No, I'm at number 2 now. Sorry about that. Number 2. Bands playing the exact same, or almost identical to the exact same set list in the live show, over and over and over and over and over again, and refusing to play actually anything else. Biggest example, Slayer. Now, I had never went to a Slayer live show, but I've heard about people that have and experiencing this type of thing, how Slayer, again, a lot of bands do this, but I'm using Slayer as an example because they're probably the biggest example of this. But for the longest time, since the early 2000s to, right before they retired, they played the same exact set list for live shows again and again and again and again and again, never deviating from it, never putting any other lives, performing anything else live, and nothing different, the same exact set list again and again and again. I think it, if I'm correct about this, I think it started with the tour of the album God Hates Us All. From then on, Slayer would play the almost exact same set list again and again and again, and refuse to play pretty much anything else, when they had a huge a variety of albums to pick, different songs from. Bands do this all the damn time, and it's so annoying, because here's the thing. If you're in a band and you play live shows and only play the exact same set list over and over and over again, fans are going to get bored. They're going to get extremely bored because they're hearing the same thing every time they go. Therefore, they're not going to pay to go to the concert. They're not going to go to the live shows, and you're going to have less and less and less of an audience when you're doing that shit. stop it, band. All these bands out there who do this shit, stop it. It's not cool. It's annoying, and it gets boring, and just it's stupid. It really is. It's stupid, and above all, it's lazy. But yeah. All right. Number 1. A band ignoring certain bands ignoring certain albums in their, discography and pretending they don't exist. Yeah, this happens all the damn time. I'll give a few examples. First off, Judas Priest and or just Rob Halford ignoring the Ripper Owens era of the band and pretending those albums don't exist. How petty can you get? I mean, seriously, it seems like, if not the entire band, particularly just Rob Halford, he ignores the fact that the Ripper Owens era exists, refuses to re-release any of those albums, and just, it's just so annoying. Like, again, like I've said this before, but it's almost like he's jealous of Ripper Owens for, his voice staying intact, and he's jealous also that he wasn't on those albums, or at the very least wasn't in the band around the time, but he was the one who chose to leave, so the hell. But yeah, Judas Priest is an example of this, but the biggest example, Pantera. Holy shit. Their 80s albums are so damn good. But there's not really any access to them other than, if you happen to find some on eBay, because even though the band is, has dissolved by now, they're not a band anymore, but even with the members that are still around, not in the band, but, that are still around, they refuse to acknowledge that their 80s stuff exists. Pantera's worst days were their, 90s and early 2000s albums. It was just this really, really bad and dated nu metal style, music, and it was awful. But the good stuff, they refused to, let it, to the public. They pretend it doesn't exist, all because of this stupid, dated 90s tough guy mindset that they still have. These guys are in their 60s, and they're acting like absolute children. They seriously, they have this stupid mindset that goes all the way back to the early 90s of, we have to pretend, we're tough guys, we have to act big and mean. Yeah, and we have to, hide all our 80s output because that makes us, because to us that makes us look weak and, frail and shit like that. Like, that's what's going on. It's been going on for years and years and years and years, and it needs to stop. Bands can't just ignore part of their history because of this, because of whatever. Like, it's just stupid. It makes the band as a whole seem so insecure about themselves, about them as a band. It just makes them look so insecure and so petty and selfish that they refuse to let this music to the public because of stupid, petty, selfish reasons. But yeah, again, Pantera, again, Judas Priest to the lesser extent, just with the Ripper Owens stuff, but many bands do this shit. They ignore certain albums for very petty, selfish, and self-absorbed reasons, and they don't let people just enjoy the music that they like. But yeah, that was it. So those are top, or I guess not top 5, but just 5 annoying things that bands do that just need to stop. Yeah, this is a bit of a rant video, huh? But yeah, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.